Hello, and welcome back to my channel and welcome newcomers. I wanna thank you for giving your time to this masterpiece. We're going over the fourth part of What If Naruto Was OP? Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button so you're here next time for the next part in new what ifs. Thank you and enjoy the video. Chapter 4, Episode 1. Meeting the Toad Sage. Jiraiya. Naruto had been feeling the need to enhance his training and began recalling the angelic beings he had encountered, especially Vados. He remembered the possibility of training with them to unlock Ultra Instinct, a state of power he could not yet access at will. Despite this potential, Naruto found the technique overly complicated and disliked its name. Autonomous Movement seemed a more fitting title to him. Resolving to focus on mastering it, Naruto decided to meditate after relaxing at the hot springs. On his way to the hot springs, Naruto noticed a man with long white hair standing suspiciously near a sign labeled, Women's Spa. Putting two and two together, Naruto quickly realized the man was spying on women bathing. Disgusted, he drew a kunai and hurled it precisely between the man's legs. Startled, the man yelped in shock, his scream alerting the women in the hot springs, who quickly fled in alarm. The white-haired man turned around to find Naruto glaring at him. "You brat, you just interrupted my research," he exclaimed indignantly. "Spying on women isn't what I'd call research," Naruto retorted. "Who are you?" With a sly grin, the man declared himself the legendary Toad Mountain Sage, Jiraiya. Naruto burst out laughing. "That's the dumbest name I've ever heard. You might as well be called Pervy Sage." Naruto shot back, doubling over with laughter. Jiraiya's face darkened with annoyance. "You'll regret mocking me," he growled. Forming a hand sign, he summoned a large puff of smoke. When it cleared, a massive toad loomed beside him. Naruto stared in confusion at the creature. "What kind of jutsu is that?" he muttered. Without warning, the toad lashed out its tongue, wrapping Naruto in its slimy grip. It hoisted him into the air before slamming him into the ground with force. Wincing in pain, Naruto pulled himself up, his body aching. "That's one strong toad," Naruto muttered, focusing his chakra to heal his injuries. Intrigued, he asked Jiraiya how he had summoned the creature. Jiraiya smirked. "I told you, I'm the legendary Toad Mountain Sage." Naruto's curiosity piqued. "Can you teach me that jutsu?" he asked eagerly. "I could," Jiraiya replied with a mischievous glint in his eye, "but it'll cost you." "What do you want?" Naruto asked warily. "Buy me an XXX comic," Jiraiya said with a grin. Naruto's jaw dropped. "I'm too young to buy that," he protested. Still determined to learn the jutsu, Naruto devised a plan. He headed to a local comic shop, where two bored employees were playing cards due to the lack of customers. The store was packed with all sorts of comics, including those restricted to adults. The employees' game was interrupted by the sound of the doorbell as the shop's door swung open. They looked up but saw no one. Confused, they decided to investigate. As they approached the door, a shelf of comics suddenly toppled over. Alarmed, they searched the aisles for the culprit but found no one. After an hour spent tidying the store, they conducted an inventory and realized a priceless comic was missing. The two employees exchanged nervous glances, knowing they were in serious trouble. Back outside, Naruto smirked as he held up the comic. He couldn't believe his plan had worked, and he couldn't wait to see what other secrets Jiraiya might reveal. Elsewhere, Naruto sat near Jiraiya, who was deeply engrossed in the comic Naruto had stolen from the store. Jiraiya's expression was almost cartoonish, with a dreamy grin and a small trail of drool forming as he flipped through the steamy scenes in the book. Naruto watched with a mix of disgust and impatience. "This guy is down bad. Sold to a cult of his own making," Naruto thought, shaking his head. "Hey, Sage of Perverts. Are you going to teach me a new technique, or are you just here for your weird research?" Naruto demanded, crossing his arms. Jiraiya barely glanced up, holding up a finger to silence him. "Don't rush me, kid. Besides, my techniques might be a little advanced for someone like you." Naruto's patience snapped. "Wait a second, are you telling me I stole that comic for nothing?" he yelled, his voice echoing through the trees. Jiraiya sighed, putting the book down reluctantly. "Listen, kid, it's not that I don't want to teach you. It's that your chakra control and reserves aren't up to snuff yet. My techniques require a certain level of mastery you don't have yet," he added, seeing Naruto's deflated expression. "But there's potential. Tell you what. Create your own technique, show me you're serious, and then I'll train you in summoning jutsu." Naruto frowned, his mind racing. "You're saying I have to invent something new just to prove myself?" Jiraiya shrugged. "If you want to get stronger, that's a good place to start." Naruto considered it for a moment, then nodded. "Fine. Deal." Later, Naruto found a quiet spot to meditate and brainstorm ideas. He closed his eyes, letting his thoughts drift, focusing on his chakra as he searched for inspiration. About 30 minutes later, his eyes snapped open. A plan had formed. Naruto stood up and began gathering chakra. Drawing on his understanding of elemental manipulation, he combined wind and lightning chakra into a volatile mix. As the energy surged through him, it shimmered around his body in a brilliant blue aura. Crossing his arms into an X in front of his chest, Naruto concentrated. "Me," he began, his voice echoing with determination. Jiraiya, who had wandered over out of curiosity, watched with raised eyebrows. "What in the world is he doing?" he muttered, intrigued. Naruto moved his hands to his side, focusing the swirling energy into his palms. Me." Jiraiya leaned forward, his curiosity turning to amazement as the energy formed a concentrated sphere in Naruto's hands. Naruto thrust his hands forward, releasing a massive beam of energy that roared through the air. The blue laser tore through tree after tree, obliterating 4 of them before finally exploding against the 5th. The resulting shockwave shook the ground, leaving both men stunned. Jiraiya whistled, thoroughly impressed. "Well, kid, I'll give you this, you've got guts." That was something else. Naruto, panting from the effort, grinned. "Guess that means I'm ready to learn your summoning jutsu, huh?" Jiraiya chuckled. "Not so fast, kid. You've got potential, but that technique of yours needs work. It's powerful, but it's also a massive energy drain. Keep training, and we'll start summoning jutsu tomorrow evening. If you keep at it, I'll make sure you're Jonin level in no time." Naruto's eyes lit up. "You've got a deal, pervy sage." As Jiraiya walked off, Naruto reflected on his new technique. "Kamehameha," he murmured. The name had come to him while reading a book about King Kamehameha of Hawaii, whose name meant, "the very lonely one." The king's legacy as a conqueror and visionary had inspired him. That's perfect, Naruto thought. The next morning, Naruto resumed practicing. Standing in a clearing, he repeated the process of gathering chakra into his core. The shimmering blue aura surrounded him as he prepared to launch the beam. Me. Naruto's voice grew louder with each syllable, the energy in his hands pulsating. He shouted, releasing the beam again. It tore through the landscape, but Naruto stumbled, exhausted. He wiped sweat from his brow, his body trembling. "This takes way too much chakra," he muttered. "If I don't master it, I won't be able to use it in a real fight." Determined, Naruto practiced the technique 30 more times in the span of an hour, but his body was nearing its limit. Gasping for air, he fell to one knee. "I need to keep going," he whispered, clenching his fists. "If I don't push past my limits, I'll never become stronger." Despite his determination, his body refused to cooperate. His chakra reserves were drained, and every muscle screamed in protest. Defeated but not broken, Naruto sat back and closed his eyes. "I'll rest for now, but tomorrow, I'll be stronger," he promised himself. With that resolve, Naruto began his journey toward mastering both his new technique and the summoning jutsu, step by grueling step. Naruto leapt onto Gamabunta's massive head, gripping the toad's rough skin with determination. "All right, kid," Gamabunta bellowed, his deep voice resonating through the clearing. "If you can hold on for the entire day, I'll acknowledge you and grant you my service. But don't expect me to go easy on you." Naruto nodded confidently, bracing himself. "I'm ready. Let's do this." In an instant, Gamabunta began thrashing wildly, shaking his enormous head with incredible force. The motion was so violent that it felt as if the ground itself was spinning beneath Naruto. He scrambled to maintain his grip, his heart pounding as he realized just how serious the challenge was. "This is insane," Naruto thought, gritting his teeth. "I knew it wouldn't be easy, but this is nuts. Still, I can't give up now. I have to prove myself." Fifth hour. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Jiraiya watched from a distance, a smirk playing on his lips. "That kid's got guts," he muttered to himself. "Most people would have been thrown off by now. He's actually holding his own. Impressive. But I've got things to do." With that, the Toad Sage turned and walked away, leaving Naruto to face Gamabunta's relentless assault alone. Gamabunta, still shaking and twisting, glanced upward. "You're tougher than you look, brat," he growled. "Most would have fallen off by now, but don't think I'm letting up. If you want to earn my respect, you're going to have to work for it." The toad suddenly leapt into the air, crashing down with enough force to topple nearby trees. Each landing sent tremors through the ground and made Naruto's grip even more precarious. Sweat poured down his face as he clung to Gamabunta's head, his muscles screaming in protest. "This guy isn't messing around," Naruto thought, his arms burning from the effort. "If he keeps this up, I'm going to fall for sure. I've got to find a way to hang on." Gamabunta bellowed, "Get off me, you pest." With a final, powerful shake, he sent Naruto flying through the air. Naruto tumbled, flipping end over end. For a moment, it felt as if he'd failed. But just as he began to plummet, he formed a quick hand sign. "Shadow Clone Jutsu," he shouted, summoning a group of clones mid-air. The clones grabbed hold of one another, forming a chain that pulled Naruto back toward Gamabunta. With a determined cry, he landed back on the toad's head. "That was close," Naruto said, panting heavily. "You almost had me, but I'm not giving up. Let's keep going." Gamabunta growled in frustration, his respect for the boy growing despite himself. "You're persistent, I'll give you that. But don't think you've won yet." Determined to end the challenge, Gamabunta leapt toward a nearby lake. The enormous splash from his landing sent waves crashing against the shore as he submerged himself completely. Naruto clung tightly to the toad's head, but the force of the water made it nearly impossible to hold on. Underwater, Naruto's vision blurred, and his lungs began to burn. The lack of oxygen was unbearable, and he felt his strength slipping away. "I can't give up," he thought weakly. But as Gamabunta surfaced with a mighty leap, Naruto finally lost consciousness, his body too exhausted to continue. The giant toad caught the boy with his tongue, gently lowering him to the ground. He stared at Naruto's unconscious form, his expression a mix of frustration and admiration. "You lost, kid," Gamabunta muttered. "But you've got guts and determination. You've earned my respect." Carefully, Gamabunta carried Naruto to a nearby hospital, laying him on a bed so he could recover. As the chief toad prepared to leave, he glanced back one last time. "You might not have won today, brat, but you've got what it takes. Keep pushing yourself, and maybe one day, you'll be worthy of standing alongside me." With that, Gamabunta vanished in a puff of smoke, leaving Naruto to rest and recover, one step closer to his dream of becoming stronger. Naruto woke slowly, blinking as the sterile white walls of the hospital room came into focus. The faint hum of machinery filled the air, along with the subtle scent of antiseptics. His eyes wandered to a calendar pinned to the wall, and his stomach sank. It had been 2 weeks since his collapse from the underwater ordeal with Gamabunta. Attempting to sit up, Naruto winced sharply as pain shot through his arms and shoulders. His muscles felt shredded, like they'd been torn apart and hastily stitched back together. Before he could ponder further, the door opened, and a middle-aged doctor with glasses and a clipboard entered the room. "Good morning, Naruto Uzumaki," the doctor said with a polite smile. "I'm Drive, Murphy. We found you unconscious outside the hospital 2 weeks ago. Upon examination, we discovered you had contracted a rare infection caused by a flesh-eating amoeba. It was likely from being submerged in contaminated water." Naruto's eyes widened, his heart sinking further. "To save your life, Drive," Murphy continued, "we had to surgically remove portions of infected muscle tissue, primarily in your arms. Don't worry, your body will recover, but it will take time. For now, you'll need to remain in bed to allow your muscles to heal properly. You'll also need to take this medication to eliminate any lingering bacteria in your system." Naruto clenched his fists weakly, frustration coursing through him. 2 weeks lost, and now he was sidelined for at least another week. "What about my training? I've got things to do," he protested. "I'm afraid training is out of the question until your body fully recovers, Drive," Murphy replied firmly. "Pushing yourself too soon could cause permanent damage. Rest is essential. Also, your clothes have been confiscated for hygiene reasons and will be returned once you're discharged." Naruto groaned but reluctantly nodded. He couldn't risk his health, even if every fiber of his being itched to get back to training. He leaned back against the pillow, glaring at the ceiling. "Guess I don't have a choice," he muttered. 3 days later, Naruto sat up in bed, a steaming cup of instant ramen in hand. Though he hated being idle, the familiar taste of the noodles offered some comfort. He was mid-slurp when a strange movement caught his eye. Sand began to drift through the open window, swirling in an unnatural current. The grains collected in the center of the room, slowly forming the shape of a person. Naruto froze, his chopsticks hovering midair as the figure solidified into Gaara, the girl with the sand gourd. Her cold, piercing gaze met his, and for a moment, neither spoke. "Gaara," Naruto finally asked, narrowing his eyes. "What do you want? You came to kill me." Gaara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she winced, clutching her head as if in pain. Naruto tensed, unsure what was happening. "No," Gaara said at last, her voice steady but sharp. "If I wanted to kill you, you'd already be dead. Especially in your condition." She gestured to his weakened state. "I came here to talk. I want to know why you and I feel so similar." Naruto's brow furrowed. He hesitated before answering, taking a deep breath. "I don't know for sure," he began, his voice calm. "Maybe because we've both had to fight our whole lives. I've got a creature sealed inside me, a powerful one, that wants me to grow stronger." "It sounds crazy, but it's true." Gaara grimaced, clutching her head again. Her body trembled slightly, and her sand began to writhe around her, inching toward Naruto as if to attack. Alarmed but determined, Naruto swung his legs over the side of the bed and stood, despite the pain. "Hey," he said gently, stepping forward. "It's okay. You're not alone." Before Gaara could react, Naruto reached out and rested a hand on her head. To his surprise, the trembling stopped. Her sand, which had been poised to strike, hesitated before retreating. Gaara's tense expression softened, and for the first time, she seemed at peace. Without warning, she wrapped her arms around him in a hesitant embrace. Naruto stiffened, caught off guard, but quickly relaxed, his own hand patting her back awkwardly. "See," he said with a small smile. "You don't have to be a weapon. You can just be yourself. There's more to life than being a tool for destruction." Gaara pulled away, her expression unreadable. "Maybe," she murmured. She stepped back toward the window, her sand gathering at her feet. But you should be ready, Naruto. Something big is coming. The next time we meet, I might not have a choice but to kill you. Naruto's eyes widened, but he nodded solemnly. I'll be ready. With that, Gaara dissolved into sand, disappearing as quickly as she had arrived. Naruto sat back down on his bed, staring out the window at the now quiet room. He knew her warning wasn't empty. Whatever was coming, he had to be prepared. Naruto sat cross-legged on his hospital bed, his eyes closed in deep concentration. He was meditating, focusing on his chakra control to keep up with training even while his body was recovering. Sweat trickled down his temple as he strained to channel his energy evenly, but his frustration grew. His inability to train properly gnawed at him. Finally, he opened his eyes, letting out a sigh. I can't just sit here anymore, he muttered to himself. Carefully, Naruto swung his legs over the bed and stood, wincing slightly as his weakened muscles protested. Determined, he shuffled toward the hallway in search of his doctor. After a few minutes of walking, he spotted Drive Murphy scribbling notes on a clipboard. Hey, Doc, Naruto called out, his voice firm. Where are my clothes? I'm leaving. Doctor. Murphy looked up, startled. Naruto, you're still in recovery. You're not allowed to leave yet. Your body needs rest. I've rested enough, Naruto interrupted. I can't stay cooped up in here. I have to train with Jiraiya, and I need to talk to him now. I promise I won't overdo it. Just give me my clothes. The doctor sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. If you insist, I'll make a deal with you. You can leave, but only under strict conditions. You must use a wheelchair to avoid straining your legs, and you must return to rest afterward. Agreed. Naruto hesitated but nodded. Fine, I'll take it easy. Just get me out of here. Within minutes, Naruto was wheeling himself down the hospital corridor, his orange jumpsuit folded neatly in a bag on his lap. Despite the inconvenience, he felt a wave of relief as he rolled out into the bustling streets of the village. Naruto's initial relief quickly gave way to irritation as he scoured the town for Jiraiya. 2 weeks, and he doesn't even check on me, Naruto grumbled. What kind of mentor is that? As he turned a corner, his ears caught the sound of a woman's scream. Startled, he wheeled toward the commotion. A woman darted out of a store, her face red with anger. Hot on her heels was a figure Naruto recognized instantly. Jiraiya, his so-called mentor, grinning like a fool. Wait, Jiraiya called after her, his hands gesturing animatedly. I was just admiring your beauty. You can't blame a guy for noticing perfection. The woman didn't bother replying. Instead, she turned and socked him square in the face, sending him stumbling backward. Naruto's face darkened as he watched the scene unfold. Unbelievable, he muttered, as Jiraiya rubbed his cheek and muttered something about women with strong hands. He turned back toward the shop, only to be met with another punch, this time from Naruto, who had managed to stand up from his wheelchair just long enough to land the blow. Ow, Jiraiya howled, clutching his nose. What the hell, kid? Are you trying to kill me? You deserved it, Naruto snapped. I've been stuck in a hospital for 2 weeks because of that stupid frog of yours, and you didn't even check on me. What kind of mentor are you? Jiraiya raised an eyebrow, unfazed by Naruto's outburst. Listen, brat, you've been out of commission. There wasn't much point in hanging around when you couldn't even train. That's not the point, Naruto shouted. I need to get stronger, and you're out here wasting time. Jiraiya sighed, brushing himself off. Look, I get it. But you're in no shape to train right now. Your body can't handle chakra control or physical techniques until it's fully healed. Naruto clenched his fists, his frustration boiling over. Then teach me something I can practice when I'm ready. I'm not going through another pointless exercise like riding that toad. Jiraiya studied him for a moment before sighing. All right, you're persistent, I'll give you that. I was going to wait until you were stronger, but since you're so insistent. Jiraiya raised his hand, and a small sphere of swirling wind chakra began to form. It grew steadily until it was about the size of a grapefruit, spinning with incredible force. "This is the Rasengan," Jiraiya said, holding it up for Naruto to see. "It's a powerful technique, and unlike the Chidori you learned from Kakashi, this one doesn't require a weapon or cause lethal damage. It's designed to incapacitate, not kill, making it a perfect sparring move. But mastering it takes time and effort." Naruto's eyes lit up with determination. "Teach me, I'll figure it out." "Not so fast," Jiraiya said, closing his hand and dispersing the Rasengan. "You'll start training as soon as you're cleared to leave the hospital for good. Until then, rest. I'll be waiting for you when you're ready." Naruto frowned but nodded reluctantly. "You better not ditch me again, pervy sage. If you do, I'll—" Yeah, Jiraiya interrupted, waving him off. "Save the threats, kid. Just focus on getting better." With that, Naruto wheeled himself back toward the hospital, a renewed sense of purpose fueling him. He had a lot of work ahead, but now he had a clear goal: mastering the Rasengan. And this time, he wouldn't let anything hold him back. After being discharged from the hospital, Naruto was handed a clean set of his signature assassin gear. The familiar fabric felt like a second skin as he adjusted the straps and belts. Standing at the hospital's front entrance, he squinted at the bright sunlight, his eyes quickly focusing on a tall, white-haired figure waiting outside. Jiraiya was leaning casually against a post, his usual grin plastered across his face. Naruto felt a mix of surprise and relief. Jiraiya had actually kept his promise to meet him. Though he tried to keep his expression neutral, a small smile crept onto his face. "Well, kid," Jiraiya began, straightening up, ready to get back to it. "We're going to start with some foundational work before I teach you the Rasengan properly. Here's the plan. 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, 100 squats, 250 kicks, 250 punches, and a 30-minute run through the forest. That should take about an hour to an hour and a half. When you're done, we'll move on to the good stuff." Naruto nodded, his mind already strategizing. He decided to arrange the tasks from easiest to hardest: squats, sit-ups, push-ups, punches and kicks, and finally, the run. He was determined to pace himself to avoid straining his muscles too much after his hospital stay. As he was mentally preparing, a deep, guttural voice interrupted his thoughts. "Kid," growled the nine-tailed fox from within. Naruto froze, his eyes narrowing slightly. "What do you want now?" "Add 50 more to each of those exercises, except the run. And do them without stopping," Kurama demanded. Naruto's jaw dropped. "Are you crazy? My muscles are still recovering. That'll tear them apart. You want strength. Then stop whining and push yourself," the fox barked. Naruto gritted his teeth. He knew Kurama had a point. Great strength required pushing limits, but this felt excessive. Still, he couldn't deny the voice in his head. With a frustrated sigh, he dropped into position and started his squats. At first, the workout wasn't too bad. The squats and sit-ups passed relatively quickly, but by the time he reached push-ups, the strain on his arms became unbearable. Sweat poured down his face as he struggled to lift himself with each repetition. His muscles screamed in protest, but he forced himself onward, determined not to quit. When it came to the punches and kicks, his form was sloppy. Every strike sent jolts of pain through his limbs, but he clenched his teeth and kept going. By the time he started the forest run, his legs were trembling violently with every step. The uneven terrain made it even harder, but Naruto pushed through, his vision blurring as exhaustion overtook him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he finished the run and collapsed face first onto the ground. Blood speckled the dirt beneath him as he coughed violently, his body completely spent. He tried to move but found himself paralyzed by pain coursing through his muscles. Jiraiya, who had been giving him some space during the workout, arrived just in time to see Naruto sprawled on the forest floor. Alarmed, he rushed over and crouched beside the boy. "Kid, what happened? You look like you've been through a war," Jiraiya said, inspecting Naruto's battered condition. Naruto, barely able to speak, gasped for air. "The nine-tailed demon fox made me." Jiraiya's expression darkened at the mention of the fox. "Wait, are you talking about the nine-tailed fox? The monster that attacked the village years ago? How do you know about that?" Naruto groaned, struggling to explain. "It's sealed inside of me." Jiraiya's eyes widened in shock. Without a word, he pulled Naruto's shirt up to reveal the black sealing mark etched into his stomach. The intricate design glowed faintly with suppressed energy. "So, this is it," Jiraiya muttered, his voice laced with awe and concern. "The nine-tailed fox is inside you, that explains a lot." Naruto nodded weakly. "He doesn't really help, but he's given me chakra before." Jiraiya sat back, processing this revelation. After a moment, he looked Naruto squarely in the eye. "Listen, kid, if the nine tails is sealed inside you, that's a huge deal. Instead of fighting against him, you should work on your relationship with him. If you can find a way to cooperate, he could be an incredible asset in combat. But for now, you need to rest. Overtraining like this will only destroy your body." Naruto wanted to argue but lacked the energy. He closed his eyes and focused on channeling his chakra into his overworked muscles, hoping to speed up his recovery. Jiraiya leaned him gently against a tree and sighed. "Take it easy, kid. You've got potential, but even the strongest ninja know when to rest. We'll pick up training again tomorrow." As Naruto's breathing steadied, he made a silent promise to himself. He would master the Rasengan, earn Kurama's cooperation, and become stronger than ever. For now, though, he had to recover and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. At night, Naruto sat cross-legged in the clearing, the world around him bathed in moonlight. His breaths were steady, and his focus was sharp as he began to meditate, seeking a deeper connection to his energy and instincts. Through his concentrated effort, he entered the serene mental plane where he often met Vados, the angelic figure with unparalleled wisdom in autonomous movement. Opening his eyes in the ethereal space, he found her waiting. Clad in her flowing robes, her calm demeanor radiated a powerful aura of both peace and authority. Her staff glowed faintly, illuminating her serene features. "Welcome, Naruto," she greeted, her voice soft yet commanding. "You've come to understand what it means to master autonomous movement, or ultra instinct. It's a technique that allows the body to move instinctively, free from the constraints of conscious thought." Naruto sat attentively, his eagerness to learn tempered by a tinge of apprehension. His training with Jiraiya had already pushed him to his limits, and Kurama's demands had been even more grueling. He understood that mastering this technique wouldn't come easily. "First, let me explain," Vados began, gesturing gently with her staff. "Autonomous movement is not about power or strength. It's about trust, trusting your body to act without your mind interfering. In combat, hesitation is a weakness. With this technique, you eliminate that hesitation, allowing your instincts to take over completely." She beckoned him to stand, her serene presence offering both encouragement and challenge. "Let's begin with a test." Raising her staff, Vados flicked it lightly, releasing a faint wave of energy toward Naruto. He dodged instinctively, his movements quick but clunky. "Good," she said, her tone even. "But you're overthinking it. Your body reacts, but your mind is still trying to take control. Clear your thoughts, Naruto. Imagine yourself as a river, flowing naturally, without resistance." Naruto furrowed his brow, determined to internalize her words. As she sent another pulse of energy his way, he attempted to clear his mind, but his thoughts about timing and reaction slowed him down. He managed to avoid the energy, but not without effort. Hours passed as they continued the exercise. Naruto struggled to quiet his mind, each failure adding to his frustration. His instincts were there, but his logical mind kept interfering, disrupting the flow Vados wanted him to achieve. Patience, Vados reminded him, sensing his growing irritation. Autonomous movement requires more than physical training. It demands mental surrender. This is a journey, not a destination. Naruto nodded, though exhaustion weighed heavily on him. I'll keep trying, he said, determination flickering in his eyes. She smiled, a rare gesture that spoke of her faith in him. Good. You've made progress, even if you can't see it yet. Trust in yourself, and the rest will follow. With that, Naruto returned to his consciousness, his resolve stronger than ever. The next morning, Naruto was training in the forest, hanging from a sturdy branch as he powered through a grueling set of pull-ups. 96, 97, 98, 99, he counted, his voice strained. His muscles screamed in protest, his arms trembling with effort. Summoning every ounce of strength, he pulled himself up one last time. 100, he exclaimed, letting go and landing heavily on the ground. He leaned against the tree, gasping for breath. As he rested, Vados's words echoed in his mind. Calm your mind and trust your instincts. Flow with it. He closed his eyes, attempting to recapture the tranquility he had felt in the meditative plane. Slowly, his breathing steadied, and he felt a flicker of understanding. This wasn't about brute strength or sheer willpower. It was about finding balance, harmony. After a brief rest, Naruto turned his focus to the Rasengan. He joined Jiraiya nearby, his mentor watching with his characteristic mix of amusement and pride. All right, kid, Jiraiya said, clapping his hands. Let's see what you've got. Remember the 3 steps: rotation, power, and containment. Naruto nodded, channeling his chakra into his palm. He concentrated hard, visualizing the spinning energy. On his 30th try, he finally succeeded. The Rasengan formed in his hand, a swirling sphere of pure energy. I did it, Naruto shouted, driving the sphere into a nearby tree. The technique tore through the bark, leaving a sizable hole. Jiraiya grinned. Congratulations, Naruto. You've mastered the Rasengan. That's no small feat, especially for a genin. Naruto's chest swelled with pride. Thanks, Pervy Sage. I couldn't have done it without your help. Jiraiya smirked. You can thank me by getting me another one of those comics. Naruto chuckled nervously, recalling how he had acquired the last one. Using his time skip ability, he had sneaked into a comic shop, grabbed the book, and slipped out undetected before the employees noticed anything was missing. As they wrapped up, Naruto looked at Jiraiya. Hey, want to spar? I need to test out my new moves. Jiraiya laughed. You're always ready for more, huh? Alright, kid, let's see what you've got. Naruto grinned, his resolve unwavering. His journey to mastering autonomous movement and growing as a ninja was far from over, but with each step, he was getting closer to his goal. Naruto felt the familiar surge of energy coursing through him, but this time it was different. He didn't overthink or let his mind cloud his movements. He remembered Vados's teachings, the importance of calming his mind, trusting his instincts, and flowing with the natural rhythm of his body. His breath slowed, his muscles relaxed, and a sense of serene focus enveloped him as he prepared for what lay ahead. Taking a deep breath, Naruto tapped into the energy within him. A faint glow began to shimmer around his form, radiating from his core and spreading outward. This wasn't just chakra, it was something deeper, more profound. The glowing aura marked his entry into autonomous movement, a state where thought ceased and instinct took over. His reflexes became sharper, his movements more fluid, as though his body operated on a level entirely separate from his mind. Jiraiya stood nearby, observing with a sharp eye. His smirk hinted at approval, but his gaze betrayed his amazement. Naruto's demeanor had shifted. His stance was relaxed yet ready, his pupils sharp and focused, and an unmistakable calmness radiated from him. Jiraiya could feel it. Naruto wasn't just relying on strength anymore. He was letting his body respond instinctively, flowing seamlessly with the energy of the moment. "All right, kid," Jiraiya said, stepping forward with a grin. "Let's see what you've got." Without warning, Jiraiya lunged, unleashing a flurry of punches aimed at testing Naruto's newfound state. Naruto moved effortlessly, weaving through Jiraiya's strikes with an elegance that surprised even himself. Each punch seemed to slow down as it approached, his body responding before his mind could process the movement. He dodged with precision, sidestepping blows and ducking under swings with a grace that left Jiraiya impressed. "Not bad," Jiraiya called, his voice tinged with excitement. "But dodging isn't going to win you the fight. Show me what else you've got." Naruto's eyes narrowed with determination. He knew Jiraiya was right. This wasn't just about avoiding attacks. It was about pushing forward, about testing the limits of what he could do in this state. The energy within him surged, and he shifted into an offensive stance. With practiced ease, his hands began to rotate in opposite directions, gathering chakra for a Rasengan. But this time, something felt different. As the chakra swirled between his palms, Naruto instinctively began channeling the power of Ultra Instinct into the technique. The Rasengan grew brighter, more concentrated, its energy vibrating at a higher frequency. Without conscious thought, Naruto began merging the Rasengan with another technique he had secretly worked on, the powerful Kamehameha blast. The energy in his hands crackled and intensified, a mixture of spiraling chakra and concentrated energy waves. The glow around him brightened, radiating heat and power. Jiraiya's eyes widened slightly as he noticed the change. "What's he doing now?" he muttered under his breath, intrigued. "Take this," Naruto shouted, his voice filled with resolve as he unleashed a combined technique. The hybrid Rasengan Kamehameha roared to life, surging forward in a spiraling wave of concentrated energy. The sheer power distorted the air around it, sending shockwaves rippling through the forest as it barreled toward Jiraiya. Reacting quickly, Jiraiya formed a series of hand seals, summoning a powerful chakra barrier just in time to intercept the attack. The impact was explosive, shaking the ground beneath them and scattering leaves and debris in all directions. Jiraiya braced himself as the barrier absorbed most of the blast, though the force pushed him back a few steps. When the dust settled, Jiraiya lowered his barrier and looked at Naruto, who stood panting but grinning, his body still glowing faintly from the effects of Ultra Instinct. "That," Jiraiya began, shaking his head with a mixture of amazement and pride. "That was incredible, combining two techniques like that. I didn't think you had it in you, Naruto." Naruto beamed, his excitement bubbling over. "Thanks, Pervy Sage. I've been working on this for a while. It still needs some fine-tuning, but it felt amazing to pull it off." Jiraiya chuckled, his grin returning. "Don't get too full of yourself, kid. You've come a long way, but you're not finished yet. That said, I'm proud of you. You're proving to be one heck of a student." Naruto's chest swelled with pride at Jiraiya's words. He had faced countless challenges to get to this point, and this moment felt like a culmination of all his hard work. Yet, he knew this was only the beginning. The road ahead would be long and filled with even greater obstacles, but Naruto felt more prepared than ever. With his mastery of Ultra Instinct progressing and powerful new techniques in his arsenal, he was ready to face whatever came next. For the first time, he truly trusted not just his strength, but the instincts and resilience that had carried him this far.